Welcome to Catalyzing Innovation's podcast series, where exceptional global innovators across sectors share best practices to maximize creativity and practical secrets for good implementation. Hi, everyone. I'm thrilled to be interviewing Xavi Cortadellas today, who's head of innovation and design at Gatorade. Xavi, can you share a bit about your background and personal journey to your current role? I know you trained as an architect and worked at Nike before coming to PepsiCo, so you have a lot of very interesting influences to draw upon.
Yeah. Thanks, Michelle, for the opportunity. Excited to be here. Excited to share one more chapter on our innovation journey. I'm originally from Barcelona, as you could tell by my name, so Catalan as origin, designer background. So I'm an architect. As you said, I've done most of my career in sports, starting with Nike, first in Barcelona, working for Spain and Portugal, then moved to Mexico, and then 4 years in Brazil. And for the last 10 years, I've been working in Gatorade in different roles. So my first role in Gatorade was on brand design, was kind of when Gatorade was basically establishing kind of a global identity, and they wanted someone with international experience. Then evolved to innovation and combining innovation and design. And over the last 2 years, I've been mostly focused on innovation projects, and even now kind of working on a few digital transformation initiatives. So it's, I guess I'm kind of reinventing myself every 2 or 3 years, but always rooted in sports. That's an innovation. These are kind of my true passions.
That's awesome. So this is a very general question, but I think it's important to frame today's discussion. How would you describe innovation? What does it mean to you? And why is it so important for a large established brand like Gatorade that's so dominant and successful in its sector?
That's a good question. I think that for me and for us, innovation first starts with user empathy. So kind of figure out what athletes needs, what are the user needs, and try to identify problems to solve, and find solutions for these problems, and ideally transform these solutions into business opportunities. So we believe in a kind of a very athlete-centric type of approach when we talk about innovation. And I think this is applicable in general. It's kind of I'm kind of a curious person, and I'm always kind of trying to identify problems and solve problems, even they are not my problems at all, right? So it's kind of that's I think that true innovators have this innate curiosity and kind of this desire to kind of find out challenges and solve challenges. So for me, it's kind of the more complex is the challenge, the more motivated I will be. So it's kind of this type of abstract thinking, white paper type of exercises are the ones that to me are more fascinating.
Super. So I've been following your work for years, actually. And in my mind, Gatorade sets the standard for how broadly and smartly a brand can extend in a way that makes total sense given its heritage and equity. And to your credit, it's beyond what many brands, I think, could have envisioned. So can you talk about some of the pioneering initiatives you've led for Gatorade, including e-commerce and personalization, creating a new connected ecosystem, providing helpful data for coaches and athletes, and recently launching the sweat patch?
Yeah,
it's a lot, but you've been doing such groundbreaking work that the obvious thing is to develop new formulas and flavors and sizes, but you've been doing like really meaningful innovations.
Yeah, no, it's true. I think one important thing is that everything starts from the same mission, that it's about kind of fueling athletes and make athletes better. That's at the end, it's our goal as a brand, and everything that we do is with this in mind. Having said that, we have been basically combining kind of, I will say, three things. It's kind of what we call core innovation, that could be new flavors, new formulas, etc. A portfolio expansion, moving from a sports hydration to total sports nutrition. And then a third one that is this idea of expanding into total sports performance, or kind of service solutions, digital platforms, etc. And at the end, this third space, that it's probably the one that it's kind of more intriguing coming from a CPG company. We are doing that because we believe that the more knowledge athletes are on the stuff that they are doing in terms of nutrition, recovery, training, etc., the better they will perform as athletes. And we want to be their partner of choice on this journey. And a very important caveat is that this type of mindset applies to professional athletes, ultra competitive, and kind of all the work that we do with professional teams, etc. But that also applies to everyday athletes or everyday fitness enthusiasts, right? So we define athletes as you have a body, you are an athlete. So for everyone who wants to make better choices on what they drink, what they eat, how they rest, how they recover, how they train, we want to be the partner of choice for them. So that's the reason that we are expanding into newer spaces, digital services, wearables, e-commerce, etc. Just with this obsession, kind of to make athletes better and kind of make them smarter on their choices.
No, it's really fascinating how you've sort of reimagined what Gatorade can be. I really think it's the gold standard for brands to look at for how they can expand. So one of the things that impresses me is how your team has navigated and combined so many trends and new technologies to come up with meaningful ways to enhance Gatorade's importance to its different targets. And as you mentioned, you have a lot of different targets. It can be professional athletes, college and high school athletes, recreational athletes, coaches, et cetera. So one of the very big parts of managing the innovation process is prioritizing where to place your bets. Can you share a little bit about how your team was able to understand and navigate so many different aspects of new trends and technology, and together with senior management to select the key opportunities to pursue?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Even with big companies and big brands like ourselves, resources are not unlimited, right? And you need to place some big bets and kind of focus on them. So we always joke internally about prioritization, and it's super hard. It's kind of, we come up with long lists, and it's very difficult to trim down the list and prioritize. To me, it's kind of this balance on kind of short-term achievements and kind of long-term vision. And for senior leaders in the company, what is super important is kind of to bring them along on kind of what's the problem to solve, what's the end vision. And then as we make decisions on a yearly basis on kind of how we invest our resources, try to take kind of a small part of the pie in terms of resources. It could be money, it could be people, etc. To keep investing in these long-term transformational initiatives. We try to do that without, not instead of, keep doing innovation on the core, is more on top of, right? So if, just making up the percentages, but if 80% of our innovation is more on core innovation, take 20% of these resources and put these against big bets and kind of some of these long transformational efforts. Another aspect that I think is super important is how to measure return on investment on these type of initiatives. Typically, this is not about short-term revenue. This is more about, transformational capabilities for the company. It could be about brand equity. It could be about kind of brand leadership. So I think it's very important how you present these initiatives internally to define the right KPIs and the right way to measure ROI.
That's great. So just watching all the new areas that your team has mastered, you've gone into e-commerce, you're working with microchips in a bottle, sending software to coaches, a sweat patch that analyzes electrolyte loss. Like, there's so many areas that traditional CPG would not have expertise in. Can you share a little bit about how your team got up to speed on all these new technologies and when it was necessary to engage with outside experts to build what Gatorade has become today?
Yeah, I think that rule number one is to be humble and to be very honest about the stuff where you have internal expertise and the stuff where you need external expertise. Point number two is once you identify these areas that you need external expertise to bring the right partners. And that could be innovation agencies, that could be tech startups, that could be big tech companies. And then the third aspect, and I think it's a very interesting one, I think that 3 or 4 years ago, when we were talking about these type of efforts within PepsiCo, we were very alone, and kind of there was a lot of lack of internal knowledge. The company has evolved since then, and kind of PepsiCo is bringing a lot of external expertise, kind of within the company on e-commerce, on data, on digital initiatives, etc. And we are getting a lot of traction internally to move forward with our agenda because it's transformational, not only for Gatorade, but also for PepsiCo. So I think on that, again, it's about to create these kind of mixed teams, internal, external, and treat your external partners as they are part of the team. Honestly, I don't care too much if your salary is paid by PepsiCo or it's paid by an innovation agency. You are part of the team, period. And then once you kind of create these multifunctional teams where it doesn't really matter kind of, which company or firm or you represent, I think it's kind of when the real magic of innovation could happen.
No, it's interesting because I've been watching your relationship with Smart Design also. Lucky for me that I knew Smart Design before you, and I've been allowed to watch the progress of your projects. And I know you have had a great working relationship with Smart Design.
Yep.
So, and from what I've seen, honestly, it's the best collaboration I've personally ever seen. There's so much mutual respect, problem solving, iteration, continuous improvement. Are there any keys you can share for companies working successfully with new product, service, and design firms, or for that matter, some other partners, just external partners?
Yeah, for us, the relationship with the Smart Design has been fantastic. They have been kind of almost a one-stop shop for many of our innovation projects. We also work with other agencies, but the advantage with the Smart Design is that they have been able to create multifunctional teams to solve different parts of the puzzle. So that has been fantastic. I think that the three key things with our relation with the Smart Designer, it's probably applicable to other agencies as well. One is this idea of partnership, right? So kind of, there is a relationship kind of client and supplier. But once you have kind of overcome that and kind of signed the scope of work and the contract and negotiate the terms, etc., we tend to kind of treat each other as part of the same team. I think that helps a lot on kind of move forward the projects. Second aspect to me that it's really key, it's continuity on the relationship. Typically, many big firms or companies, they like these kind of innovation sprint projects. They go to agencies with complex problems and kind of just 60 days or 90 days to solve the problem. I believe that with agencies, kind of, if you are able to establish these long-term relationships, you will get better results at the end. And then last is also kind of try to incentivize the agency that they could share part of the success as well, right? So if the agency is only motivated to kind of get their money in, that's good, but that will get what you will get. If the agency feels part of the project, part of the success, proud of the products that you are launching or the campaigns that you are doing, etc., I think that will go a long way. So I know that working with the different designers at a Smart Design or other agencies that we work, they are equally proud of the work that we develop together than us, right? So they feel the brand and they are super proud about the projects. And sometimes we have, super, tough discussions just to get the best product possible, right? So it's kind of, they are looking for the best product because they feel part of the team. I think that to be proud of the final product and even kind of enjoy proud of the journey to get there, it's super important that to be shared equally between both parties.
So you're really managing a lot because you're managing a multifunctional internal team, you're managing external agencies, and you also in a way have to manage senior management's expectations. And when you're working on something, the kinds of changes that you're doing, which are, again, so much more complicated than just launching a new flavor or formulations, as expected, there are bound to be little successes and failures along the way, and the timeline might not be as fast. So, and I know, like, part of the new way of innovating is doing lots of little experiments and learning from failure, and failures as a part of, like, the learning, a necessity as part of the learning process. But can you just talk a little bit about managing senior management's expectations along the path to a big win? Because it's not as quick a journey, again, as if you were just doing something super simple.
Yeah, that's a tough one, and I don't know if we have perfect the process or not. So a couple tips there. I think the first one is about education, right? So kind of typically when you are working on the spaces that are not as close to your core business, the problem you will have is that leadership has limited understanding on what you are trying to solve. So I think that to explain as much as possible and try to get, instead of 30 minutes meetings, kind of maybe 1 hour or 2 hours, pre-reads, share articles, share cases from other companies, etc. Kind of educate your leadership on what you are trying to do. That's super important. Second, it's also to try to align on the long-term vision. I think that if you have kind of a shared ambition, a shared agenda, and they understand where you're going, you are halfway there. And then last but not least, and I think it's the most challenging one, is to align on expectations in terms of timelines, resources, etc. That's the part that's super complicated. It's kind of typically things take longer than what you were expecting. Sometimes you will need more money, etc. So try to kind of be very transparent on that. And again, kind of try to get some small wins during the process, that then maybe people don't need to wait till the end, right? So if if you work on a project that it's 3 years out, what could be the small victories that could be good for the business at year 1 or year 2 that could help to kind of keep building this momentum? I think that many companies will have a super hard time to wait 3 or 5 years to get the product out. So kind of what are kind of these short-term wins that will help to basically kind of get the traction that you need. It's probably different depending on the sectors. I think, for instance, on pharma, etc., they are used to these longer timelines. But typically in CPG, I think that people want short-term success, and they don't have the patience to incubate these projects for the long run. So you need to offer something during the journey.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the disruptive work that Gatorade is doing has been evolving and expanding over a number of years. And over that time, I think there have been changes in the new product development process. Some of the things that I've observed that you've been doing and changing are innovating in a more open way to bring consumers along on the journey. They seem to like watching and the feeling of being included in the project's progress. Just two other things that I've noticed just watching your collaboration with Smart Design, but rolling out the GX hydration bottle and customizable formulas globally, starting with professional athletes like the World Cup team in Brazil, then high school athletes from all over the world, and finally to everyday athletes. And I was able to see the trials in London that you had with high school athletes from all over the world. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And thought it was just great that they were so excited, and they were almost goodwill ambassadors sharing their experiences with their friends all over the world in real time. So I don't know, can you just talk a little bit about over the years how you've seen the process change?
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Oh, sorry for my dog here. It's interesting. First of all, it's kind of, I believe that to be transparent on the process, it's super important. So, of course, you need to protect your IPs, and kind of you don't want to give an advantage to your competitors, etc. But I think that to be transparent about what you are doing, consumers love that. It's kind of, we want our favorite brands to kind of, come up with new problems, new solutions, and kind of celebrate the success. I think that, for instance, the automotive industry is a great example of that, they share featured prototype cards, etc., and kind of fans get super engaged on that. And then the other aspect of that is to bring consumers in these pilots, see what works, what doesn't work, be very transparent on that. I think it's phenomenal. It's kind of there are no better feedback kind of that real market pilots. Something that now we are adding also into our arsenal is that we are basically kind of taking over on the kind of our e-commerce strategy and kind of the Gatorade.com as a marketplace and kind of to sell products there. So we want to leverage that to kind of sell products kind of that are maybe not 100% ready, kind of incubate new innovation, even create community of users that they could provide real-time feedback. So we want to double charge on that, because at the end, it's kind of, if we are able to perfect this innovation with real users who are really passionate about these products, and it's when some of these innovations then will be ready for kind of showtime and kind of go to the big retailers and kind of the Walmarts and the Krogers of the world, etc. So the more we could do on the process to bring consumers along, the better our products will be at the end. So I think that there is no trade-offs on kind of bringing the users along. And again, this is about sports and sweating and exercising, etc. So kind of this type of interactions with consumers are fun and entertaining, and kind of people love it. It's kind of it's good for the team, and it's good also for our consumers or alpha or beta users.
That's great. So is that the primary way that marketing research has changed? I know a lot of marketing research has moved online. I'm just curious if there are any other tools that you're finding useful for getting consumer feedback.
Yeah, I think that we are combining kind of traditional tools with some of these new tools. I think it's not one way or the other. Typically, in our case, we have kind of a very powerful insights team within the organization. And we always consult with them, kind of, first of all, trying to figure out what's the problem to solve and what we want to learn from consumers. And once we align on these two questions, then figure out what's the right research methodology in order to answer these questions. And I think it's more kind of a toolbox, right? So I sit down with my insights partners and said, okay, this is the project, these are the problems, etc. And then together we align on how to answer these questions. And we do a lot of quantitative research and qualitative research. And now with COVID, man, we have been kind of super creative on how to do that, kind of sending prototypes of new packaging to consumers' houses and doing interviews via Zoom. Right now, we are doing kind of a Shark Tank type of sessions where we are pitching ideas to consumers and they need to decide if they want to invest or not with us. So I think that with COVID, we are being over creative on how to do this type of research, but without diminishing the usage of traditional tools. So probably it's kind of our toolbox right now. It's slightly bigger.
That's awesome. It's so interesting. So just to finish, what would be the best way for listeners to learn more about the Gatorade GX hydration system, the new sweat patch, and some of the marketplace you mentioned? Where do you suggest they look?
Yeah, kind of go to Gatorade.com. I think that there they could buy the patch, they could download the app, and then kind of there are also a lot of articles linked to the Gatorade Sports Science Institute that explains kind of the science behind our innovation. That's probably the best resource. And I would say for anyone that interested on using the patch, the app, etc. Remember, this is kind of now kind of we are more on digital innovation, right? And this is an iterative process. So the current product is not perfect. We are improving as we go, but we want feedback. So it's kind of we are being very transparent and said, hey, if you like it, great. If you see that there could be improvements, let us know. And we are iterating on ongoing basis. So that's also kind of part of our playbook. And now we are doing that with kind of not with a small group of consumers. We are doing this with kind of general public.
Awesome. No, the work you're doing is so exciting. I love it. And I think it's great for people to look at it again as a best case of how a brand can expand its equity, create an ecosystem around it, really become more meaningful in every way, in this particular case, that an athlete exercises. So, congratulations. It's been really fun to watch your journey, and I hope to keep watching in the future. So
excellent.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Michelle, for the opportunity. We'll keep you posted on kind of new developments.
Okay, sounds good.
Excellent. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.